Hi there, my name is Jen Delvaux. I am here with my, I can't say amazing anymore, but I think he's amazing, but that annoys him, husband Darren. And we are coming to you today with episode 7 on living with cancer. If you haven't already, make sure you watch the previous episodes. You can get them on YouTube, Jen Delvaux, Jendelvaux. But today, we ended the last episode where we had just gotten back from Houston. He had a second brain surgery at MD Anderson. Came home, saw our kids for the first time in a couple weeks, and had a nice dinner with them.
Because I don't remember it, a lot of it.
No.
Everything is kind of broken up into segments for me. I have brief recollection of things that happened, but the timeline part, it was just, so I really won't contribute much to that.
Well, I don't think you really have much memory of this. So this is what happens. We go to bed that night, and I'm like, oh, so thankful and just feeling so good to be home and thinking life is going to go back to normal. I wake up the next morning, and Darren's not in bed, and I thought that was weird. And I walk downstairs, and my daughter's sitting at the island having breakfast, and I look over, and Darren's on the couch with like a washcloth on his head. And I'm like, what's going on? He's like, I'm not good. I'm like, you need to go to the hospital? He's like, yes. We send the kids to our neighbors. They go to the same school, so we sent them over there. We weren't concerned yet. It wasn't like, I just thought maybe he just had this headache.
Was it a headache, or did I feel sick?
No, headache.
Headache, okay.
So we go to the hospital, and they put him on, they give him an IV of like drugs right away, and the doctor basically says, well, why would you fly after 5 days of having brain surgery? And we were like, that's what MD Anderson, honestly, it was fine to do that. MD Anderson has thousands, not even more than that.
Yes.
Millions of people that go to their hospital, have surgery, and fly a few days later. That's normal. So.
And this is at the point where we already didn't have a lot of faith and trust in a lot of
the doctors there.
Yeah, what had happened.
Yeah.
So
when you watch previous episodes, you'll see we trusted our doctors in Houston. We knew that they were making the right recommendations. So they gave him a heavy dose of something.
Dilaudid.
Yeah. Well, Dilaudid, and we went home. So he just thought it was because of the flight and the pressure, and that caused that headache. So we go home that day, and we were only there for a couple hours. So we're home probably by lunchtime. And he slept on the couch. Izzy, our little chihuahua, would not leave his side, literally laying on his head. Yeah,
it was really, it kind of freaks me out a little bit because she wanted to lay right on top of my head, which she usually didn't do. She always cuddled up to me, but she would not leave my side.
No.
And that kind of freaks me out because, people always say that pets are very sensitive.
Yeah, she knew something was up. He goes to sleep, and he's saying the weirdest things.
I didn't know I said any of this.
It was totally peaceful in my house. I was quiet. I was sitting in the other room. I don't know what I was doing, but I just wanted to be by his side in case something happened. And he was, what's the sound when the text comes? I forget because I always have mine on silent. But he was doing that all the time. And then he was talking about records, and he was talking about, what do you call those things? Those cool or
carabiners?
Carabiners.
Yeah, I don't know. He was
saying the craziest things. Kids come home, everything's normal, have dinner, go to sleep that night. The next morning, Darren is like, I can't even, my headache is so bad, you need to call the ambulance. And I start panicking. So I send the kids again to the neighbors, and we call an ambulance. Ambulance comes in, and they immediately give you a shot of something.
Same stuff.
Same thing, Dilaudid, and we go to the ER. Now at this point...
Oh no, it wasn't. It was just a regular... It wasn't Dilaudid at that point, because Dilaudid is very powerful, and it cures everything right away. But they don't carry that in the ambulance.
Okay.
So they just gave me some generic morphine kind of thing.
Still said we don't see anything, but we're gonna admit him because of the pain he's in. And you guys, the pain was so bad. Your blood pressure was 200 and something. It was sick to look at, and you could just tell he was in so much pain. But it hadn't hit the worst yet.
Yeah, because I don't remember
I'm sure you don't remember
a lot of that part.
I'm sure you don't remember any of it.
Yeah.
So we finally get our room. We had been in the ER all day long. We finally get up to our room, and it's probably 7 o'clock at night at this time. So all the main doctors have left, and it's like night staff, like they had just switched over. And at this point, my family had gone home and it was just me. And Darren was in so much pain. I've never seen anything like it. He was literally begging me to save his life and not let him die. And I'm shaking just even as I say this, because just to experience that and see your spouse in so much pain and there's like nothing you could do, it was horrific. And he just was putting washcloths on his head and the staff was coming in and I'd be like, he needs something else. We're waiting on an MRI. Like, why aren't they doing this MRI? We need to figure out what's going on. And they kept saying, well, we won't do the MRI because the surgery wasn't performed here. And we don't know if he had, what do you call it? The right metal, the MRI friendly metal,
yeah.
You know, the staples and whatever it is and screws. And I literally lost my mind. And I said, I don't care what I have to sign, but you need to get in there and do an MRI for him. Like, he is literally about to die. We need to figure something out. Finally, after I completely I would not let this, I was walking down hallways, like I would not let them not do this. Like, I'm like, something needs to happen right now. So they finally took him back to the MRI and I finally had some peace because he was gone for that hour and he wasn't begging me to save his life. Like, it was horrible. I called my sister and I begged her. It was probably like 1 o'clock in the morning this time. I'm like, I need you. I didn't have to beg her. She came right over. But I couldn't deal with it because watching somebody you love in so much pain and it's just out of your control is horrific. In fact, since then, I've had EMDR work because of that night. It was tough. So he comes back and he's pretty peaceful at that point. Peaceful, not in talking. He's completely knocked out, so I shouldn't say peaceful, but he was finally quiet, but he was just completely knocked out because they had given him so many drugs. The next morning, we wake up. He doesn't wake up. My sister and I wake up and it's like 7:30 in the morning and in walks like 3 or 4 doctors. And my mom had just gotten there and then 3 doctors walk in and I see my dad at the doorway. It's crazy how these memories just stick with you at these moments in your life that are just crazy. But so 3 doctors walk in and they say, he's had a stroke. And I'm like, I sit down and I'm like, well, that's not possible. My husband has brain cancer. You must be talking about another patient. This could not possibly be happening. And they said, no, he's had a stroke. And what's going to happen is he's going to either continue to stroke out and die, or we're going to give him Coumadin, which could also lead to death because he just had brain surgery,
yeah, because
5 days prior.
Coumadin is a blood thinner for those who don't know. And so because of the fact that I had so much trauma,
Yeah.
It hadn't healed yet. So giving me Coumadin would have, my blood would have been.
He probably would have died.
Right.
So my options were he's going to continue to stroke out and die, or try this Coumadin and he might not die. Those were the options that I was given. I mean, my life just turned upside down. I had to go out. His room. I got to
take a deep breath.
I know. So my room was like right outside and there was like this big couch. And so I laid out there and I had like the support of my family and, oh God, I knew this was going to happen. It was just the hardest day of my life because I thought I was going to lose my best friend. And I didn't know I was going to tell my kids because they thought that day he was going to die. Just kidding. It's okay. Sorry. I thought it was going to
The thing is, we've told this story like a million times and it really never gets easier.
This day never gets easier. So I'm laying out there with my family and I'm just trying to figure out like how I'm going to get through everything. And all of a sudden my mom comes and she goes, Jen, Dr. Clafford is on the phone for you. And Dr. Clafford was the surgeon who sent us to Houston.
Yeah, he sent us to MD Anderson. He's a family friend of ours, and he's a very respected doctor.
Yeah, so he is actually at his cottage, and he had heard what had happened, and so he called me at the hospital, and he said, Jen, listen to me. He said, we cannot do the Coumadin. He will not survive this. And I'm like, I know, Steve, what do we do? And he said, let me look at it and let me run a few more tests, but do not allow them to do this. I'm like, okay. So he looks at it And he calls me back with, I finally have just a tiny bit of hope. And he's like, I'm running more tests. I'm going to run more tests. And so they started doing test after test after test, like over the next day. And everything was coming back negative. Like they, to try to figure out where the stroke was coming from. You feel like your life is never going to go back to the same again. You're just like, you think your life is over, to be honest. And
see, at this point, I didn't think, I knew because of the bad headache I had already had. But I don't think I was quite aware about the stroke and all that stuff.
No,
so
you didn't know for a long time. You
right.
didn't understand what you were going through for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened was, so then they started doing the tests and they were coming back negative. And then the doctor would come in and he literally, you guys had no movement on his left side because his stroke was on his right. None. For like the first 24 hours. And then slowly over time he started gaining it. He had a walker. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So they ran all these tests. Everything was coming back negative. Clapperton was like, we are not giving him Coumadin. He was in the hospital for a couple weeks, maybe actually a week at this point, maybe 10 days. And they watched him. He was doing really good. And we thought he was going to go from this hospital to Mary Free Bed, which is a
rehabilitation center.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because, he had no movement on his left side. None. They thought he was going to have to learn how to do stuff over and over again. Or everything over again.
Which I still do.
No.
I still need.
But you guys, listen.
For real.
This is how strong Darren is and how much he amazes me. By the time we left that hospital, he did not have to go to the rehabilitation center. You could do everything. He completely gained back his strength. Mentally, we still had to work through some things. Yeah. But physically, he did not need that rehabilitation center. I'm not sure why I have problems with that word.
It's a hard word.
It's a hard word. Get home. And everything gets back to normal for, I think, like 2 days. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, I see hope. Like, he's doing good. We're back with the family. And then all of a sudden, it all starts all over again. And he's actually, at this point in our master bedroom, it had thrown up. And he couldn't even move. He was laying on our bathroom floor, and we had to call the ambulance again. And
well, this is probably, I do remember this. I remember this very clearly. I never felt so much pain in my entire life.
Really?
And I think the reason I was throwing up is because the pain was so bad. Mm-hmm. And, they wanted to bring me in a stretcher and stuff like that. They did. Yeah, they did, because I couldn't move. I was in so much pain. I don't know if I was yelling at people. Actually, this is crazy. I got kicked out of the ambulance. Oh my gosh. Well, it was pretty bad.
They're in our driveway in the ambulance. They're trying to give him this IV, and they can't keep screwing up. And I see Darren. He's laying flat down, and they're trying to get this IV in his arm, and Darren's about to throw up. And so I reach in and like grab him to lift him up so he didn't like throw up in his mouth. And the ambulance guys grabbed me and shoved me out of the ambulance doors. I'm like, okay, seriously. That was crazy. So we go back, and this time, you guys, it was another, I don't want to get into all the details, but it was like a week. He became the patient on House. Has anybody seen the show House? He was that patient on House where nobody could figure out what was going on. All the tests were coming back negative, although you did have another little mini stroke. It did show that. Yeah,
the mini stroke is that one. I do remember being in the ER. Yeah. And this lady was, this nurse kept telling me that, I said, I need an antiemetic, which makes you not throw up. And so they're like, oh, this drug has been proven. And I'm like, I used to be a pharmacist, so I was like, this is not the drug I want. I want Zofran. I need it right now. Oh no, this is going to be fine. And I basically was calling her a liar. I'm like, you know what you need to do? Just trust me. And I was just furious. Yeah. And I think at that point my blood pressure was already so high that everything was just kind of set me off. Right. Because I was in so much pain, nothing was working. Right. And it just went on and on and on for me.
Yeah. I mean, it was a really hard time. So that week, they just did a lot of testing, and I don't want to get into the next one yet. I want to wait and do that for the next episode.
Yeah.
But he literally...
You guys are probably getting bored.
I know, it's been a long time. And he literally became a house patient.
Yeah.
Like, nobody could figure out what was going on with him. The doctors in Grand Rapids were talking to the doctors in Houston. Nobody could figure anything out.
They're fighting with each other.
There's
well, maybe not fighting, but there was some very intense
heated discussions for show.
Yeah.
And between all of us, it's a difficult thing when you don't know what's going on with your body. And I know others have gone through it, and it's just hard when doctors can't tell you and diagnose you, and nobody knows why you're having these issues. But Darren definitely was not himself. I didn't even know the person you were when you were in that hospital bed.
At one point, there's only 2 times that I actually thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
The very last time that I went to the hospital was one of them.
Yeah.
And I've never.
It was
been
actually the end, though, that we're going to talk about next week.
Yeah, but I've never been in so much pain in my life.
And it just wasn't awful. Right. It was terrible.
Yeah.
So, not that we want to be so depressing, you guys, because as you can see, we're really happy now, and we live a really, really, really good life, and we are so fortunate that we've gotten through all this. But it's been it's taken us being hopeful and trusting the process.
Yeah.
Although stepping in when need be, you need to stand up for yourself, and just believing. And Darren has always had that belief that this is not going to kill me. I am going to survive this. I have kids. I'm going to see them graduate high school, and that's like his motto. Like,
well, at that point, because of how bad I was thinking, I'm like, all I got to do is get through till my kids graduate high school.
Yeah,
that was my goal at that point. Right.
Thank you so much for watching. If you want to watch our previous episodes, you can on YouTube, JenDelvaux.com. Or actually, JenDelvaux.com, JenDelvaux.com will show you our whole little segment on living with cancer, and show you the videos. They're on YouTube as well. You can check it out. So thank you again for joining us. I hope this helps someone. Please share it if you think it'll help someone you know that's going through something similar.
Yes. Thank you.